Hello, all you Chrysalis emergers out there, and welcome to Undeclared Bajor. This is Undeclared Bajor, the best Star Trek DS9 podcast. My name is Fletcher. About to say hello is Data.
What up?
Today we're going to discuss Star Trek DS9 Season 7, Episode 5, Chrysalis. Alternate title, Starfleet Medical Board of Ethics v. Julian Bashir, Exhibit 124.
Yeah.
This episode originally aired October 28th, 1998. It was written by Renee Echevarria and directed by Jonathan West Desperado. And Sarah Clofton is not in the episode.
Nope, he's not in the episode, and another main cast member does not appear in the episode.
Ooh, let me think. See, we had Kira Odo, we had Sisko, we had O'Brien, we had Ezri, and we had Bashir. So that must leave... And Quark was there too, I'm pretty sure, right?
I think Quark was.
Okay, so... Worf.
It was Worf.
Man, where'd you go, Worf? He wasn't even directing the episode.
Yeah. You know, if he was around, those... some admiral comes on board and Worf's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "That's a stupid question." Worf would not be having it.
Yeah, that would not go well.
We are off to security right now.
It was lucky that Worf was on vacation or something.
Right, yeah, he's back on Ryza for some reason.
Yeah. Doing more terrorism, who knows. We will be discussing spoilers up through this episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, but not after this episode. So if this is your first time watching Star Trek Deep Space Nine, you can watch along with us, and we won't spoil anything after what we're talking about, unless we forget, which sometimes we do.
But also, anything that's not Star Trek Deep Space Nine, we might spoil.
Exactly.
And probably will.
Yeah. So, that thing that you've been waiting to watch, you should watch it now and then come back, because we might spoil it.
Dante wins the floor.
That's
That's a joke that won't make sense to most of the people.
I don't... Is that some kind of Clerks reference?
It is kind of, yeah. Okay, so have you seen or heard of the game show The Floor?
Is that a real game show?
It is a real game show. Yes, it is a game show hosted by Rob Lowe, where
sure.
like 100 people stand on this floor, and they've each got their own like area of expertise, and then like someone challenges somebody else in their area of expertise, and the winner gets both pieces of the floor, and then eventually the final winner has the whole floor. And so, and in the most recent season, one of the it was in the very first episode, it's zooming, there's 100 people, it's like showing several of them and what their area of expertise is. And I saw one that was like convenience store items, and I look up and I had to rewind because it's, wait a second, is that Brian O'Halloran who played Dante on Clerks? And it absolutely is. And I'm like 5 episodes into the season, and he is like dominating the game.
Wow.
The person with the most pieces of the floor at the end of the night wins like $20,000, and he has won like $80,000 or something so far. So
cool.
I was just like, man, good on you.
Yeah, I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
Hey, did you see the trailer or just hear about that upcoming movie about the what was the No Whammy Stop game show?
Press Your Luck.
Yeah, the Press Your Luck scandal of the guy who figured out how the board worked.
Oh, are they doing a movie of that?
Yeah.
Interesting. I always liked that show when I was a kid.
Yeah, Brian Walter Hauser plays the guy, and then Walton Goggins plays the host of the show. So,
oh, interesting.
It looks like a pretty fun movie. Anyway.
Yeah, this thing that we're talking about.
Yeah. Oh, so first things first, before we get into the episode, how would you rate the title?
I mean,
Chrysalis.
I get what they're going for. It's
Yeah.
The metaphor is pretty clear. So I guess I don't know. It's fairly clever. I just don't like it. I don't know what it is, and maybe I feel like other episodes could fit that title. I don't think it's super memorable, but I don't particularly like the title.
Yeah. And it's, Chrysalis, you go into the Chrysalis, then come out. She just always was in the Chrysalis, but
so she's more like an egg, is what you're saying.
So yeah, but she became a butterfly this episode. So I guess that's the main point they're trying to make.
Yeah, calling the episode "The Egg" wouldn't have been as poetic.
Yeah, and that the symbolism might have been a little bit more confusing.
Yeah.
I guess Chrysalis is the best option there. And you don't want to call it like Cocoon.
No, that has all the same issues as Chrysalis and then more.
Right. And then, that was that movie with diabetes guy. Whatever his name is.
Oh, man.
Anyway, so Dr. Bashir is bored and looking for someone to hang out with. He asks O'Brien if he wants to hit the holosuite, but the chief has family stuff. Next week, though. And then Bashir runs into Kira and Odo on their way to Vix, and they are forced to awkwardly disinvite him from their date.
Gosh, I mean, I know Bashir is not exactly like the paragon of like smoothness or whatever, but that was like, come on, they're clearly going on a date. What are you doing?
Right.
And he doesn't even ask. He's like, oh, wait, I'll go get my like tuxedo or whatever. And it's like, no.
I mean, I don't know. I guess it's like a private show at Vix. Because if if the whole lounge is open, he could go like hang out there and do some gambling, and he doesn't have to be involved in their date. But it's like, oh, Vix is running. But yeah, I guess it's just a private thing, just the two of them. So
yeah, but also now, even if you wanted to go to Vix, you can't because someone else is there.
Right? Can you run 2 instances of Vix at once?
Oh, I don't know.
Does Vic have the power to like bilocate?
I feel like he shouldn't. Like it breaks his whole thing. But maybe.
Also, Kira is looking really nice in that red dress, I gotta say.
You're not wrong.
So Bashir gets in his pajamas to do some bedtime virology research.
And who hasn't?
Yeah,
honestly.
I mean, nothing to do. Curl up with some virology. But Risey's about to fall asleep. He gets a call from Nog. There's an Admiral Patrick in the infirmary, and he demands to see Bashir right away. So Bashir rushes to sickbay to see Admiral Patrick, and it turns out it's Patrick the Mutant from the episode Statistical Probabilities. Our 3rd favorite episode from last season. Apparently, he's joined Starfleet and been promoted all the way to Admiral.
I mean, it's impressive when you think about it.
Yeah. I mean, he is a genetically engineered super brain, so...
Yeah, but so is Bashir, and Bashir is still just like a lieutenant.
I think Patrick's smarter than Bashir.
Yeah.
And Lauren and Jack are there, too, and they've also joined Starfleet. So, things are looking good for those guys. And they brought Serena so that Dr. Bashir can finally cure her of her catatonia. And then she can join Starfleet too. Dr. Bashir's a little mad at first, but then he's like, I don't have anything going on. This'll make an okay episode.
So, I'm going to talk briefly about the initial concept for the episode. Because in here it describes that Renee Echevarria has the original concept for this episode, okay?
Uh-huh.
And what it is Bashir, Jack, Patrick, Lauren, and Serena, it says. I don't know why Serena's there, because this episode doesn't cure her of her catatonia in the original draft, but whatever. They go on a mission for Starfleet together. Along the way, something happens, and the 4 savants have to pretend to be Starfleet officers. Also, Section 31 was going to be involved in some way.
Ooh.
And the episode is going to focus on Jack, who would be temporarily cured of his neuroses. Echevarria said it was based on Flowers for Algernon, where he would ultimately revert to his normal state at the end of the episode and be abandoned by Starfleet.
I mean, that does sound like a pretty cool episode.
And then Ira Stephen Bear's like, eh. He says it boiled down to the fact that it was a tragedy. This guy becomes normal, which kind of glamorizes mental illness. That's a very common Hollywood sort of story. Oh, aren't they cute? Don't rob them of their originality and make them normal, which is bull.
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of a fair point, I guess. But I do want to see the four of them impersonating Starfleet officers and going on a mission.
Yeah, and not to spoil too much about the end of this episode that we're already talking about, but apparently, like, in the novels, there's follow-up to this where Serena does become a Section 31 operative.
Ooh.
And, like, they use her to, like, honeypot Bashir into, like, wanting to join Section 31.
Wow.
And, like, they hook up and start a whole thing, and that's how she gets him to, like, go along on these Section 31 missions with her. And then I think she dies or something.
Aw. That's an interesting sounding story, though. So Bashir goes to Captain Sisko, who is not super happy. Apparently, there's some kind of legal problem, technical problem with how they joined Starfleet. I don't know exactly. Also, he's not happy that the last time they were on Deep Space Nine, they tried to pass sensitive strategic information to the Dominion.
Well, I mean, it's not like we're still at war with the... Oh, what's that you say? Oh.
Bashir says, well, as long as they're here... Can I try the procedure on Serena? I got this consent form from her legal guardian. I mean, I didn't ask for it, but she sent it anyway.
She sends me one like every month. I don't know.
Sisko says, okay, fine, whatever. They can all stay in the cargo bay like last time. Just have them clear out that tree from when that alternate Keiko O'Brien accidentally erased herself from existence.
Molly O'Brien, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Keiko Molly, whatever.
They're both off the show now. So
Keiko O'Brien Jr., which, I mean, they are human beings. Can we not put them in a room designed for people? But
no, they might escape that room.
Yeah. So they clear out the tree and get the beds moved to just the right spots. Jack asks if he can help with the surgery, but Dr. Bashir says no. And Jack says fine, he'll go work on his special secret project instead.
And you're not invited. With blackjack and hookers.
Mm-hmm. Actually, forget the blackjack. Also, Lauren reveals that she's with Nog now. So, good for Nog.
I know, right? I wonder if anyone told him, because I feel like he would have been into it.
I'm not clear if she actually went on any dates with Nog or what.
It's like they get married at the end, and there's like no references between here and the final episode. Oh, sorry, I spoiled the ending of Deep Space Nine.
Oh my gosh.
The glamorous wedding of Nog's dreams, that he has like his wedding journal that he's been planning this out for years.
So then Dr. Bashir calls Chief O'Brien to the infirmary to help with a problem. Bashir needs to be able to manipulate Serena's neurons at a subatomic level. And this neuron operating machine only does atomic level and above. But O'Brien says there's nothing I can do. There's quantum fluctuations at the subatomic level. I can't break the laws of physics, and quantum fluctuations are a law of physics.
Apparently. I love that the note in here is that comment is vaguely reminiscent of the famous remark by Montgomery Scott in The Naked Time. I cannot change the laws of physics. I've got to have 30 minutes.
Also, I'm really more of a spaceship engineer. I don't have a ton of experience with specialized medical equipment.
Yeah, like these seem like different things.
So we cut to Jack confirming that you can't break the laws of physics, but you can bend them, say all the mutants together in a not very well practiced sales pitch.
Hey, whatever works.
Yeah, they put effort into it, at least. I approve, I guess. So the camera pulls back and we see that the medical gizmo now has all kinds of wires running out of it everywhere.
Which means improvement.
Mm-hmm, exactly. They recalibrated the imaging diodes, so now you can clip the wings off an angel dancing on a pin.
If you wanted to do such a thing.
Yeah. So Bashir takes this piece of medical equipment that has been jury-rigged by 3 mental patients and gets right to work using it for brain surgery on Serena. The thing shoots some lasers into her head, and Bob's your uncle. She's good to go.
Yeah, kinda. That's... So there's an interesting note about deciding to focus the story on Serena. Is that they're like, well, I mean, she never talked in that first one, so she's got a lot of development we could do, right?
Sure.
Originally, she was going to have some lines in the first episode, but they cut them. So they're like, here we go. But before they could greenlight the episode, they had to get the actress in and be like, she didn't actually have to do anything last time. We should probably make sure that she can, act. And so she got called in to audition for a part that she had already played once before, which is an unusual situation. And Eshvari is like, yeah, it must have been really stressful. Like, she had the role and it was hers to lose. But within seconds of her reading, we knew that we had the right person.
Nice. Yeah, she did a really good job.
Yeah, she really did.
She knows. Isn't she the one who had the switch in her brain or whatever? So I guess she turned the switch to good.
To good.
And
I mean, it almost makes you go like, wow, she was really wasted in that earlier episode. Look how good she is.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's, I'm sure it takes a lot of talent to
fair, yeah.
Play a catatonic person too, so. But after 5 days, there's no noticeable change. Julian hangs out with Ezri in Quark's bar, feeling like he failed. Ezri helpfully points out that Julian made promises he couldn't keep, got people's hopes up, and he was arrogant enough to think he could help Serena when so many doctors have failed. So, nailed it. Who needs proper counselor training?
That's those 300 years of experience right there.
Yeah, exactly. But then Julian sees something going on outside the bar. It's Serena, and she's standing out there. Bashir asks her what she's looking at, and she says, everything. That's right. Serena has been granted the power to see everything, elevating her to near godhood.
Yeah, omniscience or whatever. That'd be pretty impressive.
Yep.
Omnipresence? I don't know what that would be exactly.
I don't know. Whatever Sauron has. Her gaze now pierces all flesh or whatever. Serena is further amazed that she thought something and Bashir heard it, possibly indicating that she also has the power to penetrate the minds of mere mortals. Sure. Bashir is like, no, you said that out loud. And she's like, oh, good. That's good too. And she smiles. So they take her to the infirmary where Serena notices that the tricorder makes a pretty sound. Bashir is concerned about elevated norepinephrine levels, but Serena assures him they should drop when the new thalamic connections stabilize. So she knows more about it now than Bashir does, apparently. She says she was listening to Bashir explain the procedure to the nurses, wishing she could thank him. And now she can thank him. So she does.
Good job.
Bashir takes her down to the cargo bay where all her friends are happy and amazed. But Jack doesn't like the way she talks. She sounds like deaf or something. So he leads the whole group in an improvised musical number. And I guess that fixes it.
See, I kind of like the way they dealt with that because you notice that she's talking weird, but you're like, well, I mean, obviously, the first time she's able to talk. And then they call it out and it's like, ooh, no, you're not supposed to. And then they have a musical number and fix it. And I was like, wow, okay. Interesting move. I honestly, I kind of liked the whole musical thing. You don't get that on Star Trek a lot.
Yeah. I like that they did something. They did something,
Yeah.
I like it when people try risky things on shows.
So there's several notes here about this. Director Jonathan West found shooting the musical sequence difficult, but was proud of how it turned out. He says, I listened to the music and literally choreographed where actors would come from and where the camera would move to. If you look at the sequence, you'll see that I never shot a master of everything that happens. I always have one person leading into someone else, which leads to someone else, and then flows with the music.
Nice.
The composer was a big fan of the sequence, although this thing makes it sound like he feels kind of put upon. He's like, you've got 2 minutes of screen time to take this woman from not being able to speak properly to gradually having her recoup coloratura soprano in a piece of music that has to represent a genetically perfect society, has to be like a Bach fugue, can only use do re mi syllable scale, can't sound like do a deer, and has to be brilliant.
I like that. Can't sound like do a deer was one of the
one of the specifications. Like, it can't sound like that. Like, oh, okay, fine.
He's like, oh, I know. They're like, nope, can't do it.
Okay, and now we're gonna play a mini game because there's a note in here about how experienced each of the actors was with the singing thing. And it sent me down like a rabbit hole of looking up information about these 4 actors that I don't remember if we looked up last time. But it turns out that several of them have some interesting stuff going on. So I'm going to tell you some stuff about one of the actors, and you'll have to guess which one it is.
Oh, okay. Fun.
So let's see. One of them was in the mid-'80s the co-lead singer and percussionist of a short-lived musical group. And let's see. Also known for a starring role as the evil pirate Divatox in Power Rangers Turbo, and Turbo, a Power Rangers movie.
Turbo, a Power Rangers movie?
That's what it's called.
Okay. Solo, a Star Wars story?
Yeah, kind of, right?
Phew. I'm going to guess that's Lauren. I don't know any of the actor names, so...
It was Lauren. Lauren plays the evil pirate queen Divatox in Power Rangers Turbo.
Nice.
And was in an all-female group called American Girls.
Nice.
Which apparently, like, did one project, and then everyone was like, man, you're a lot like the Go-Go's, who were popular at the time, and then, it didn't go anywhere after that.
Oh.
Let's see. Okay, the next one. Let's see. This person attended Harvard, where they got a degree in history and literature of modern France and England.
Huh.
Won Harvard's prestigious literary award, the Bowdoin Prize, okay, as well as the Jonathan Levy Award for Best Actor. Chosen for a Rhodes Scholarship.
Wow.
Earned an MPhil, Master's of Philosophy in Modern English Literature, from Magdalen College in Oxford. And then later on became an award-winning journalist, talk show host, and several other things.
I'm going to guess that's Serena.
That is Serena, yes. Faith
Nice.
Sally is the actress's name. And yeah, she graduated magna cum laude from Harvard and Phi Beta Kappa.
And was a Rhodes Scholar.
Yeah. So I was just like, wow, she really was wasted in that first one. Okay.
Yeah, for real.
The next one we're down to the 2 guys. So
sure.
He had his scenes cut from the pilot episode of the X-Files.
Huh.
And actually, yeah, that's the main thing about him that was interesting in here.
I'm going to guess that's Jack.
It is Jack. He played Dana Scully's boyfriend you could see the deleted scenes on the DVD, apparently.
Oh, that's not what I expected. I expected him to be, because I think they talked to some alien abductees or something in that episode, so I expected him to be like a guy who got abducted by aliens or something.
And Patrick, the only thing that I really saw in here, other than he's been in like 3 different Star Treks, is he's best known for playing Mayor Bill Pugin in Picket Fences during its first season.
Huh.
So the guys were not as interesting as the girls, is what I discovered.
Yeah. Oh, well, that happens sometimes.
So, after knowing all of that, can you figure out which one was eventually, when they filmed this scene, found to be completely tone deaf and had to be dubbed?
Okay. Well, one was in a band,
Yeah,
but this could be a misdirect. So
yeah.
I'm gonna guess that was Jack also.
It was Jack. Yeah.
Nice.
It goes through. It's like Hillary Shepard Turner, who played Lauren, had been in an all-girl punk band in the 80s, so she had no problem with the musical scene. Michael Keenan, who played Patrick, enjoyed shooting it. Faith Sally loved the experience, given her background in musical theater. So I guess she'd also had a background in musical theater. I didn't see that in the wiki. And Tim Ransom, who played Jack, was found to be completely tone deaf and had to be dubbed.
I guess they did kind of allude to that when he tried singing that, and then she just sings the same note over and over again.
And then the last note about this scene is Faith Sally commented, "The best thing about being on Star Trek was being able to sing an aria with the camera spinning around me like it was the sound of music."
Nice. Hold on, someone's at my door.
Oh, okay.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Sorry about that. The dude was just like walking around my front porch, peeking in my windows.
Oh, who was it?
I was like, "Can I help you?" He was like, "Oh, sorry, I thought this house was for sale."
Working off of an old ad or something.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I gotta mow my lawn. Thinking maybe it adds to the not occupied house look. So, all right, where were we?
Well, I was gonna say, like, At first I was like, I probably wouldn't have noticed that they dubbed over his voice at all. They did a good job. And then while you were gone, I brought up the scene, and when he starts singing, I'm like, oh no, I can, like, the voice has a whole different quality from anyone else's voice. It's like it's in a different room entirely.
I didn't notice, but I wasn't looking for it, so.
Yeah, I probably would not have noticed if I had not been looking for it, I guess.
So yeah, they do their musical number, and then Bashir claps delighted. Down in Quark's, Julian gushes about the whole thing to Miles, who is a little miffed that Julian missed their holosuite appointment. But at least Morn caught him up on how his 17 brothers and sisters are doing.
No one made you sit there in the bar and, like, listen to Morn. Also, you have communicators. You could have called Julian to remind him.
Yeah, that's true. I bet Morn had some interesting stories, though. So he was probably too engrossed in that and then forgot. But Julian goes back to his quarters and finds Serena sitting on his couch, staring into space. Julian asks how she got in, and she explains that his access code only has 6 digits. I was ready to try all million possibilities, but then I typed in 6 zeros and the door just opened.
Yeah, I mean, I love how I don't know if the implication is supposed to be that she, like, hacked it, or that she literally did brute force it somehow, but, like, yeah.
Whatever. She says that she's having trouble sleeping. She's afraid that if she goes to sleep, she'll wake up back the way she was. So Bashir puts his arm around her and tries telling her comforting things, and she falls right asleep on his shoulder. The next morning, Bashir wakes up with Serena lying on top of him like a bed. She's looked over his virology research and found that he needs to target the L2 codon. So it's always that L2. You always got to be looking out for that.
Well, the codons are tricky, you know.
Bashir gets a call that Dr. Girani needs his help in surgery. So Serena gives him a scone and says she'll go hang out in the cargo bay with her friends while he's working. So also I noticed he wakes up with a person on top of him, and he's just ready to go to work right now. Like, he doesn't have to, like, stretch or take a shower or anything.
This is the one scene in the episode where I almost felt like maybe she was being flirty with him. So I don't know. What did you think about, like, her, like, the relationship in this scene?
Maybe. I mean, I think, you know, she was just being more, you know, kind of uncomfortable in reaching out to someone that she trusted or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, the beginning when he comes in, that I agree with. I meant, like, after he woke up and she's like, oh, here, you should eat this thing. And, like, oh, yeah, you do your stuff. I'll go and hang out. Like, I don't know. It felt maybe a little bit flirty to me.
Maybe.
But there's a note in here when she talks about playing the role. And she says, they told me that she should have no subtext, which is an unusual feature for a character. As an actor, you're taught to, like, dig, find what's underneath the lines and know the backstory, because the character might be saying something she doesn't really mean.
Mm-hmm.
But with Serena, there was none of that. She was guileless. She hadn't been around enough to learn about disingenuousness or even flirtation. The undercurrent in almost every scene in film or television between a man and a woman is one of some sort of flirtation or sexual attraction. But I was told specifically, take that out of my scenes with Bashir. In no way was I supposed to relate flirtatiously. It should simply be say the line and mean it at face value.
Yep, makes sense.
Which was hard for her because, like, we're trained not to ever just take a line at face value.
Right. So in the cargo bay, Jack works on what I assume is his special project. He explains to Patrick that the universe is going to stop expanding and collapse in on itself, and they only have 60 or 70 trillion years to fix it.
Vacuum collapse, it's dangerous.
This is the kind of thing you got to jump on before it's too late. Meanwhile, Lauren pervs over a picture of Nog. Serena shows up, and Jack recruits her to help. They bring up the idea of manipulating subspace to change the cosmological constant, but Serena says you can't change the cosmological constant. And Jack is like, A, this is brainstorming, let's not shoot anything down. And B, you can't manipulate neurons at a subatomic level either, but here we are.
I mean, do you happen to remember another time that changing the cosmological constant was the simple answer to the problem?
Ooh, man. Did that happen in Next Gen at one point?
It did.
Was that when they had the warp speed problem, or?
No, it was when Q gets made mortal, and they're like, and it's like, oh, well, that moon's got knocked out of its orbit by, like, a black hole passing at close right angles to the solar system. And they're like, oh, how do we fix it? It's like, that's easy. Just change the like cosmological constant of the universe. And they're like, we can't do that. Like, oh, never mind.
Just turn that knob.
I think that's what that was anyway. That's what I immediately thought of when
Sure.
they said that in this episode. I may have to go back and look and make sure I was right. But
So they go back to their discussion, and Serena does not look happy to be there. Bashir shows up in the cargo bay and finds Jack, Lauren, and Patrick working on the collapsing universe problem while Serena sits quietly to the side. And then Jack greets Bashir with a nifty flip.
it was nifty.
And Serena explains that the others are used to her sitting quietly, so that's what she's doing while they do their important work of saving the universe. Bashir asks Serena if she wants to come hang out with him and his friends at Quark's, and she says yes. The others are not invited, though.
And then everyone else says yes.
Lauren takes Serena behind the map of the universe and gives her a new dress and hairdo. In Quark's, Serena says, "Look at all the people," as if she wasn't just here yesterday.
Nope, never seen all of these people before.
Bashir introduces her to Odo, Kira, and Miles. Ezri is also there, but she already knows her. Serena remembers Miles as Julian's best friend, which neither will own up to since men have trouble expressing their feelings. But she notes that Odo doesn't, and Kira says, "What? He's the worst one." But Serena points out he took her hand, which I guess shows that Serena sees past just the obvious. Later, she strolls on the promenade with Julian and offers keen insights about all his friends.
Yeah, insights I don't feel like she should have, quite honestly. I mean, given that we've seen that she's supposed to be like, not that knowledgeable about like these social things. That's kind of one of the points of her character at this point. And then she's
true.
like, oh, I instantly spot all of the like social nuances here.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't see the whole conversation they had, so I don't know. Miles could have been like, "You know what? I would take Atlas's place with a smile," or whatever. So, Julian is impressed. She sizes up Julian as compassionate, brilliant, and lonely. He says 2 out of 3 isn't bad, and she asks which 2. And he's like, "Well, I mean, if you count lonely twice." Serena says that Bashir's friends are a lot easier to get along with than hers, and she realizes that none of them are cut out for life in the real world.
It's like, yeah, it's like your friends don't randomly scream or break down crying or stab people or anything.
Impulsively try to, like, help the Dominion invade the Alpha Quadrant.
But on the flip side of that, Bashir's friends are not trying to save the universe from like vacuum collapse. So
That's true.
which it's funny that we were talking about this episode. I just recently read a couple of the recent, after the Lower Deck show ended, they started an ongoing comic book, and a couple of the comics deal with exactly that happening.
Oh, wow. In the next 70 trillion years?
Well, much more. Well, I guess technically, yes, it is within that time period.
Okay. Bashir says they'll have to go back to the Institute soon, and Serena realizes that she won't be going with them, and she'll miss them. She wonders where she'll go now, and Bashir says, "Why do you have to go anywhere at all?" And he kisses her.
Apparently, they had to come back a month later and reshoot the kiss scene because the original filmed scene was deemed to show Bashir as looking too predatory towards her. To which I respond, there's no way to shoot this that does not make that the case.
That is not a solvable problem. Or at least a problem you can solve with reshoots.
Yeah, that's a scripting issue, okay?
So Bashir breaks the news to the other 3 that Serena isn't going home with them, which upsets them. Bashir hypocritically lectures them to think about more than just themselves for once. And then they all go back to working on their Saving the Universe project.
Which, yes, very, very important. And now they have to do it without Serena sitting quietly in the corner.
Bashir takes Serena to Quark's to play some Dabo, at which she does quite well for a game that's supposed to be pure chance. She explains that she has a system involving binomial equations and probability factors. So, I don't know. She's doing something. That wheel seems to be hitting Dabo a whole lot, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how it works, but and once again, Bashir's like pushing her, like, "Oh, keep playing. This is great." And like, clearly, she doesn't really want to be here anymore at that point.
So Quark has to come put an end to this, so he offers them some free wine, but Serena feels overwhelmed by all the noise in the bar, so Bashir walks her home, and then invites her on a trip to Ryza. So he's like, do Do you know what Jamaharan is?
Yeah, I feel like Ryza as your like that's really jumping in the deep end. All right.
Yeah. This is problematic for a few reasons, but later Julian gushes to Miles some more while Miles fixes a replicator. Miles like, isn't this a little fast? And also, isn't she your patient? And Bashir says that he asked Dr. Garani to take over her care.
Yeah, so he can do whatever he wants with her now, which is not how our modern medical ethics actually works. But apparently, the future, it's the Wild West of medical ethics. We've talked about that before.
Exactly. Or just whatever Dr. Bashir's personal understanding of medical ethics is.
I mean, frontier medicine. What are you going to do?
And then it's like, is Dr. Garani related to the Dr. Jarani we heard about earlier in the episode? Or is this like a thing where like the G stands for graphical, so it's disputed or something? I don't know. But Bashir says that another genetically engineered... Bashir says that another genetically engineered but functional... That is not a complete sentence. I don't know what I was writing. But Serena is the woman he's been waiting for all his life. But Miles is just over it, and he says, okay, good luck. It's like, Miles is like, I'm done engaging in this. Like, I'm going to let this run its course. So Bashir gets ready for a date with Serena in his quarters, but she never shows up. So he goes to her quarters. And when she doesn't answer her door after like 1 second, he uses the security override to go inside. There he finds Serena quietly staring out the window. He tries to talk to her, but she just sits there, motionless. He takes her to the infirmary to be examined by Dr. Jarani, but they can find nothing wrong with her. Bashir promises not to give up on her, and does a short montage of brain scans on her. Then he takes Serena to the cargo bay and tells the others he can't figure out what's wrong with her. Can they figure it out? So this is just his usual pattern, I guess. Like, I don't know, can you guys figure it out? Then he leaves her there and goes back to his quarters to sulk.
As he is wont to do.
Yeah. Patrick, Lauren, and Jack decide they have to tell Bashir something, so they break out of the cargo bay. Easily. In the corridor, they run into Jones, but deflect his suspicions with Patrick's "that's a stupid question" trick.
It's so sad how much that works.
Which, earlier, Jones was like, a dog with a bone.
You're better than this, Jones.
When it came to like tracking down Keiko and Molly and Miles, but now he's just like, yeah. Did these guys try to like betray the Federation one time? Whatever.
I mean, he doesn't know that, probably.
I mean, if I was Odo, I would make sure everybody knew that, but maybe he's too busy going to Vix with Kira. Who knows?
Yeah, he's distracted these days.
They find their way to Bashir's, and they break the news to him that Serena can still talk. She's just afraid to. And they think it has something to do with him. So he goes to beg Serena to tell him what's going on. He says, I love you, and I want us to be together. And she says, okay, see, that's the stuff right there.
Yeah, right.
I've been able to speak for like 72 hours, and this is like way too much for me. But she does want to give Julian what he wants, because she feels like she owes him. And then Julian thinks, oh, perhaps I've done something horrible. Later, Miles finds Julian in the replimat, and the doctor says that Serena's about to leave for a research internship he set up for her. He beats himself up for trying to rush Serena. Miles says a few words of sympathy, then invites Julian over for some tempura, which, how are you going to turn that down? But
right, yeah.
Julian doesn't want any tempura for some reason.
Although, I'm not sure how well Keiko and Bashir get on.
True.
And so he's like, Keiko's making tempura. And I'm like, it's like, yeah, he's your best buddy, but like, I don't know that the two of them gel.
Man, I could really go for some of those like big tempura shrimps. But Bashir walks Serena slowly to her shuttle while a guy behind them impatiently tries to get around. Which I've been in that guy's shoes plenty of times.
Yep, been there.
She says she's going to miss Julian, but not in a way where she's ever going to come back or ever want to have him come find her.
No. Not unless you count those books I talked about.
Yeah, apparently. They have a parting kiss, and she walks away. Julian sadly watches her shuttle leave, having learned some kind of lesson, but I suspect not really the one he needs to. The end.
Yeah. So there's one last note about the episode. Speaking in the context of the Me Too movement, the actress praised the episode as a great modeling of appropriate male behavior, noting that the writers made it very clear that although Bashir had the hots for Serena, she was not required to reciprocate his affection just because A, he wanted her, and B, she owed him.
I mean, I guess that's clear as a normal person watching the episode.
Yes, right. Like, yeah, that does come across in the episode. I don't know that it like from Bashir's perspective and his behavior that's exactly the message.
Yeah, I wouldn't describe his behavior as like non-problematic or appropriate.
Yeah, no, none of those words. Well, the problematic word, if you take off the hyphenated part.
Right.
Yeah, that's all the notes that I have. So I guess should we get into what did you think of Chrysalis?
Well, okay. So where should I start? First of all, this episode retreads a lot of ground from Melora. In fact,
yeah.
So much so that it really seems kind of pointless.
But we loved Melora so much, we wanted it back, right?
Yeah. So, episodes where Bashir creeps on his patients start pretty low for me.
Yep.
And while the mutants are great, and I think they really deserve their own spin-off, in my opinion.
Ooh, I could see that.
I would totally watch like the mutants, Star Trek The Mutants or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not really enough to make up for just the problems with the episode, which are basically bringing us back to like season 1 Bashir or whatever.
Yeah,
having him like have to learn the same lessons all over again, and being generally problematic and icky. So, I love seeing the mutants, but I still have to say it's below the line, so I'm gonna call it a lieutenant. So what do you think?
Okay, so I mean, obviously, we have, it's just like Bashir, who has come back in many ways from how gross he was early on. This is him being like so gross that he almost causes a like very traumatized young woman to permanently like opt to be catatonic rather than be with him. Like it's really, really bad in that sense.
Right.
And not only that, but then we're treated to his big long speech about how this is the woman of his dreams, that he's always hoped to find someone like this and he never thought he could, and finally he has. Like, we're supposed to feel sorry for him because he found the woman of his dreams and can't have her. Like, that seems to be where the episode wants my feelings to go. And I'm like, no, I don't feel sorry for you for violating like every ethical practice of medicine ever. And like,
just like being a decent person.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I am doing like almost the bare minimum of being a decent human being. Feel for me. I'm like, no, I really don't. And so, yeah, it's starting out real low for me. And I agree that like the crew brings it up. Like I said, I like the musical number. That brought it up some. And really, this actress does such a stunning job that I want to like the episode, but it cannot make it above the line with just like how gross the whole thing is.
Right.
Like, once again, like you said, I would love a different context with these guys. Let's just have an episode about these guys. And like, she started working for Section 31 and she needs help. And so she goes to the only people in the world she truly trusts, these 3 like crazy people, and she like has to recruit them to help her accomplish her mission. Like,
yeah, that would be cool.
She could be like, it's been a few years and she's trained. She's like this badass, like Jason Bourne, super genius, like operative. And she has to work with like, It could be amazing. I would watch. That would have been a better Section 31 movie, probably. I haven't watched the Section 31 movie yet, but I've heard how little people care for it.
Yeah.
So I would watch the heck out of that. This I don't want to watch. This is gross. So it's like vacillating between lieutenant and lieutenant junior grade for me, and I think I'm gonna say
Yeah.
like the only thing stopping it from being an ensign is that these guys were good,
Right.
And so it's just like, were they that good that we're taking it up 2 ranks? I think I'm gonna have to call it a lieutenant junior grade, and I feel bad doing it, but I think I have to.
Yeah, it's just like, there's so much cool stuff. Like, her performances all their performances are great.
Yep.
They did that really unique musical number. But it's like all in service of something that's like, I don't know. It's like, did you think you were making something like good when you came up with this idea, or
like Ezri's scene with him is good, where she's like digging into him,
yeah.
and like O'Brien trying to give him advice. Like everyone in the episode is doing really well, but everything that everyone is doing is focused in on the central Bashir story, which is horrible.
Right.
So, like, no matter how good all of the things in orbit of it are, the center is terrible.
Yeah. And it's just like, we're just doubling down on this trait of Bashir that if he fixes someone, he like owns them or something in his mind.
It's like, we need to make this kiss less predatory. There is no way to make the kiss less predatory, because that is the core of what is happening in this scene between these two people.
Yeah, he's I mean, there's no way this person is ready to start a romance, like, no. Days after coming out of their lifelong catatonia.
Yep.
Yeah, this is worse than Melora in that way.
It really is. Like, Melora at least had like a strong personality.
Yeah.
It was an unpleasant personality, and we didn't like her particularly, but at least like she had she was someone. She could hold her own in some ways.
And like she that was kind of a story about also Melora discovering that like
she didn't need to be an asshole.
Well, and that she's good the way she is. Like, she doesn't need to be fixed.
Yeah.
And it's like, Serena doesn't have, like, the self-actualization or the, like, vocabulary to express that. She just knows that something's wrong and she feels horrible. And so she's just going to escape from the world to, like, try to make the problem go away.
Yeah, it's so sad when it's like in the episode, you're supposed to be like, oh my gosh, she's regressing. Like, this is bad. And then you find out what's really happening. You're like, oh my God, that's the saddest thing ever. Right. You poor girl.
Yep.
And so it's at the end, we get to this thing where it's like, hey, I've arranged for her to have this internship, and she's going to live with this guy's family, and they can like help her like in a parental sort of way. And I'm like, yes, that is where we should have started.
Right.
Like, I don't know what was in your brain before now, but
yep.
This is such a backslide for a season 7 episode. It's really unfortunate.
Yeah, I think I just don't know what was going on in the writers' minds. Like, they were not looking at this from the correct angle. And I don't feel like you have to live in a post Me Too world to understand what's wrong with this. Like,
no, yeah.
So, you got any final thoughts about this one? We can wrap this one up.
Yeah, no, I'm just glad that we're past this now.
Yeah, this is a very uncomfortable episode. But yeah, that's our discussion of Chrysalis. Thanks for listening. If you like that one, maybe you'll like our discussion of Melora or statistical probabilities. 2 episodes, which this one basically mashes together.
I mean, pretty much.
It's like, you got your Melora in my statistical probabilities. But you can find those wherever you're listening to this. And if you want to leave us a comment, you can go to the YouTube channel and do that. Just leave nice comments.
I'm okay if you want to leave mean ones.
But my name is Fletcher. About to say goodbye is Data.
See you later.
We look forward to seeing you next week on Undeclared Bajor. But remember, Oh, I didn't do a thing.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
Right. Was it molto allegro?
Yeah, molto allegro.
Molto allegro.